JD Vance drops and dumps a truth bomb directly on top of Kamala Harris's head. Guys, this is going to be a good one. I enjoyed it. I think you will too. It's no secret that Kamala Harris, she's just a joke, much like her predecessor, or I guess maybe I'm speaking a little early here, but much like Joe Biden. Just think about what their history in public service, so-called public service. Does any of it involve private sector work? No, of course not. Biden's in big government as long as I can remember. Same thing with Kamala. It's just hilarious. You know, these people will sit here collecting government checks and then act like they're these benevolent heroes of the American people. Yeah, right. Working in the political machine for basically almost all of your career. Yeah, what a hero you are. So guys, we're gonna get into the video. It's gonna be a fun one. But first, everybody, please make sure you, like our video, share it around, and then subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel. That way, we can keep bringing you guys these great clips. So thank you, and we really appreciate it. And to those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for coming back. As always, I'm your host, Darian. Let's get into the clip.
Kamala Harris said something to the effect that I have no loyalty to this country. Well, I don't know, Kamala. I did serve in the United States Marine Corps and build a business. What the hell have you done other than collect the check?
Fair question. Fair question.
Senator Vance and future Vice President of the United States, welcome to the program. So you responded brilliantly there to Kamala's line of attack. What on earth is she even talking about there?
Kamala.
Well, she says that I'm loyal only to Donald Trump, which of course I'm loyal to Donald Trump because his agenda worked for the country, Charlie. And I think it's ridiculous for a person with her public service career and her basic career politician, she's been in politics her entire life, to come after me for my loyalty. What has she ever done for this country? Can she point to a single significant accomplishment? So it just pisses me off, Charlie, when somebody like that, with that level of service and that low record of service comes after me. So I decided to hit her and we had some fun with it. And obviously the crowd liked it. So we're going to do that from time to time, Charlie. We're going to try to get the message out there and try to appeal to as many voters as possible. But sometimes when somebody punches, you got to punch back a little bit.
You know who else has been in public service for their entire life? Joe Biden. In fact, he was one of the youngest U.S. senators ever. And then he just stayed and stayed and stayed and stayed and stayed and stayed. Oh, we love Biden. And you know what we love more than Joe Biden? His disastrous economy. Guys, I don't know about you, but I just love this rampant inflation and gas prices and groceries going up. It's just so much fun. You know, the McDonald's burger, instead of $1, it's $10 now. Life is just dandy. Well, obviously that's a joke, but to make life a little more dandy, I have recently partnered with Goldco. Why have I done that, you may ask? Real simple. Gold, in my opinion, is a great hedge against inflation, and historically, it has shown to go up in value as the dollar loses value. Why is that important? Real simple. You got to protect your assets, guys. It's a very important thing to do. So if you're at all interested and you want to learn more, go to rtmgold.com in the description or type it in your web browser. Guys, what's even more, you can get a free gold kit, okay? Yeah, you heard me right, free, to learn more about it, because I understand it's a big decision and it's something that you should be as well informed about as possible before you plunge in. So if you're all interested, please feel free to check it out. You can roll over your IRA or 401k penalty and tax free, okay? rtmgold.com. Click the link in the description.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job, by the way, Senator. And I know this has been a whirlwind last week. Just let's take a step back. How are you doing? How's the family doing? How's Usha doing? By the way, you gave a great speech at the RNC. Usha was wonderful as well. You got 3 little kids. I mean, you go from not knowing if you'd be the nominee to now being in the spotlight of the most contested election in modern American history. How are you guys holding up?
We're doing good, Charlie. I appreciate you asking. And yeah, I thought Usha did a really good job. I was very proud of her. She was a little nervous, but I think she just knocked it out of the park. And what I tell people, Charlie, is I've never followed my wife again in public speaking. I always, you never want to follow somebody who's better than you. And I thought she just did a great job and made me tear up a little bit as a proud husband. It's a weird adjustment, Charlie. The actual campaign itself, I think, is going great, despite the fact that we've got the switcheroo. The life adjustment is just wild. You know, we have Secret Service agents crawling around our house. Our kids are sort of asking, why are there police everywhere? And we try to remind them that they're our friends. And, you know, we went for a walk this morning with our dog and our kids, and we're trailed by like 15 Secret Service agents. So it's a little weird personally, but we're getting used to it, man. And it's a good, my attitude is it's a totally reasonable thing given what's gone on in our country, the threats of political violence. and we'll adjust as we need to because it's worth it to serve the country. We have to go out and win. We have to make the people's government actually work for the people. And these small little personal sacrifices are totally worth it.
You know, JD, you better be careful with those Secret Service agents. I don't know if I'd overestimate their abilities of protection because, well, need I say more? Look what just happened to Trump. And I won't get too into that because that's a whole other discussion.
So I don't want us to gloss over what you mentioned previously. This race has changed in the last week. This feels like a coup, and it feels very dirty, and it feels something we shouldn't accept, where Democrat primary voters have been disenfranchised, and within 12 hours, they're able to remove a sitting president and their nominee, and then all of a sudden hand this off all in the name of democracy. Do you believe that this was a soft coup to just try to reset the race, to tighten it against yourself and Donald Trump?
Well, Charlie, it's profoundly anti-democratic, whatever word you want to put on it. It looks like the Democrats are basically putting out trial balloons. Joe Biden obviously was rejected by the American people. Now they're trying to send Kamala Harris out there. I wouldn't be shocked, Charlie, even though I do think Kamala is going to be the nominee. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to do another switcheroo if her poll numbers don't get a lot better, because it's clear these guys don't actually care about democracy. They don't care about the will of the voters. They just care about power. What I find so profoundly crazy about this, Charlie, is for literally years, I have been told that my party is the threat to democracy because, there was a riot on January the 6th at the U.S. Capitol, or because Donald Trump used constitutional means to try to challenge the results in 2020. Now, you had a bunch of Democrat billionaires get in a room with Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi and decide that the president of the United States wasn't allowed to run again. If that isn't a threat to democracy, I don't know what is. And I think that a lot of Americans, whether they agree with my politics or President Trump's politics, they think this is a little creepy. You shouldn't be able to do this to the sitting president of the United States. I don't care what his politics are. You should have to win the trust and the support of voters to run for president in this country. Kamala Harris hasn't done that. And frankly, neither has anybody else in the Democratic Party. The only person who did it, we may not like him, is Joe Biden. And it's bizarre to me how just quickly they threw him out when his political prospects looked bad.
It is anti-democracy by definition when you consider that Biden was voted for in Democrat primary, like him or not. Also, do you guys find it a little bit weird that within a 2-week time span, we almost lost both of our leading party nominees in the presidential election? Trump by, almost being assassinated, and Biden by just getting booted out by his party. But basically, it's obvious he got forced out. What was literally just less than a week ago, him and his campaign, well, mainly his campaign spokespeople, Biden was oddly quiet, but they were saying that no matter what, he's staying in the race. He's dead set on it. And then, just a couple of days went by and that wasn't the story anymore. Yeah, a little bit creepy if you ask me. Makes you wonder.
So we have to deal with the circumstance in front of us. It's a un-American process that unfolded, but now it looks as if it's going to be Harris and whomever she selects. And so we don't know who you're debating yet. It could be Mark Kelly, could be Shapiro, could be Bashir. You'll do fine against all of them. Do you think this race has changed from a messaging or a tactical standpoint? I believe that she is far more liberal inherently and ideologically than Joe Biden. She is far more radical. And also, she seems completely indifferent to the suffering of native-born Americans, specifically in the Rust Belt, that have been suffering from a open border and opioid overdoses. Do you think from a messaging or tactical standpoint, this changes the race at all?
No, Charlie, I really don't. And I think you have the right attitude here. It is profoundly anti-democratic what happened, but we can't sit around and whine about it. We have to go and run our race. And that's exactly what President Trump and I are doing. The message here is very simple. Do you want to eliminate Social Security and Medicare, bankrupt it, and give it to illegal aliens? Because that is the Kamala Harris plan. Do you want to eliminate private health insurance and replace it with Medicare for all? That is the Kamala Harris plan. Do you want to open the border to fentanyl and Mexican drug cartels? That is the Kamala Harris plan. If you don't want those things, then vote for President Trump, because he's the guy
So much for the borders
saying, I'm going to open up American energy. I'm going to shut down that border, and I'm going to protect Social Security and Medicare from Democrat politicians who are promising to give it to illegal aliens. The contrast couldn't be clearer, and that hasn't changed. The issues couldn't be clearer, and that hasn't changed. And frankly, Charlie, the failed record of Joe Biden, the only person who bears as much responsibility for it as Joe Biden is his vice president. And so Kamala Harris can't run away from that track record. It's a bad track record. And we have to constantly remind people that she failed as vice president. Her administration led to higher prices on everything from groceries to housing, a wide open southern border, a drug crisis, and we need new leadership. Whatever Democrat figurehead they want to put at the top of the ticket, we need to change direction from a policy perspective. And I think that argument will win the day for us.
Speaking of Kamala Harris, or as I like to call her, Kami Harris, being the border czar. You guys see how Axios and these other leftist media outlets were trying to deny it and gaslight and say, oh, that's just a Republican made-up term. She was never supposed to be the border czar. And then you can literally pull up reports of them from the past calling her the border czar of the Biden administration. It's like they don't even try to be clever liars, honestly.
Yes, and she is responsible. She is the border czar, regardless of how much the media tries to cover it up. She has called for the banning of all fracking. She has sympathized with defunding the police. She raised money for Minneapolis murderers and rioters. She has been in support of giving taxpayer-funded benefits to foreigners who are illegally domiciled into this country. So you being on the ticket allows us as Republicans to have a new outreach to younger voters, which is one of the reasons why I was so enthusiastic to get you on the ticket. So Kamala Harris will be 60 years old soon. You'll be the youngest candidate, presumably, on either ticket, unless there's something totally strange that occurs. What is your message, first and foremost, to young women who like the way that she dances on TikTok? Meanwhile, 88,000 kids are missing and trafficked into America on her watch. And also your message to young male voters.
Yeah, Charlie, it's pretty simple. I think most young voters, when I talk to my friends and my family who are sort of my age, maybe a little bit younger, they're worried about the basics. They're worried about whether they can afford to buy a house. They're worried about starting a family and whether they can afford the groceries and the housing costs that come along with bringing new life into the world. They're worried about whether they can raise their kids in an environment that's safe and secure and not overrun by illegal aliens who are committing violent crimes. So I think the basic pitch that we have to make is we believe, meaning the President Trump JD Vance ticket believes, that you should be able to raise your kids in safe neighborhoods. You should be able to afford a home. You should be able to buy groceries and put a nice meal on the table at a reasonable price. And that is what we're going to advance and argue the whole rest of the way. If you look at the track record here, Charlie, if you're a young voter in this economy with interest rates skyrocketing, how can you possibly afford to buy a house? I have people who've worked for me, Charlie, who make good salaries and they can't afford to buy a house in the Kamala Harris economy. So if you want to turn the page on that and get back to an economy where you can afford to live a decent life, you've got to vote for President Trump.
Aside from the outrageously high interest rates, just look at how much a house costs, for God's sake. It's insane. In the Phoenix metropolitan area of Arizona, I remember seeing houses, nice houses, by the way, going for about $200,000, maybe like 6 years ago. Now those same houses probably cost like $500,000 or more. It's insane. How is anyone expected to afford that? Along with that, 7% interest or whatever it might be. All in all, great points made by Vance, and it was nice seeing Kamala get a little bit of the crushing too, because I think she needs that. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Please be sure to comment below. Let us know what you liked, what you want to see next, and we'll see you guys again very soon, I am sure. Thanks, and God bless.